All right, good evening. It is 7:36, the 6th of May, 2023. We are here for a tornado warning. This is going to be for Brown County and the eastern Big Country / eastern Concho Valley. This tornado warning is going to include the city of Brownwood all the way up to Early, east to Zephyr, west back to Baines. And this is a thunderstorm that is capable of producing possibly a tornado. But by far, the more important issue for now is going to be the threat of very large damaging hail. This thunderstorm is generally moving off to the east-southeast at about 20 miles an hour. So again, this is a tornado warning for Brown County. This is in the eastern Big Country / eastern Concho Valley, southwestern North Texas. Take your pick, doesn't really matter. And this is for a thunderstorm that could be capable of producing a tornado. Currently near Lake Brownwood, very near Highway 67, with hail falling up Highway 279 up towards Lake Brownwood. We could be seeing hail golf ball to tennis ball size with this thunderstorm. And again, this is a thunderstorm that is capable of perhaps producing a tornado. The atmospheric ingredients aren't overly favorable for tornado genesis this evening, which is why we haven't seen too many tornado warnings. We did see a couple earlier that were meh. That's about the nicest way I can put that. But this one is certainly capable of producing large hail, localized damaging wind gusts, and perhaps a tornado. We don't have very strong low-level wind shear this evening, which is why we've been dealing with hailers and damaging winds. But this storm may be able to squeak out a brief tornado at some point in its life cycle. For what it's worth, this thunderstorm will likely be moving into the city of Brownwood early, a few minutes after 8 p.m. The potential for large hail up to the size of tennis balls, localized damaging wind gusts over 70 miles an hour, and perhaps a tornado. So those of you in the city of Brownwood, up to Early, down 84 towards Zephyr, up 14, or up, what am I talking about? Up 67 through Early, up to almost Blanket, and then up 183 towards Owens, west on 84 to Banks, and then up 279 to Lake Brownwood. We could have some very large hail falling around Lake Brownwood right now, and this hail core is generally moving east-southeast towards the city of Brownwood and Early. Both communities are going to want to be in a safe place, especially away from windows. So lowest floor, center room, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. While this storm may produce a tornado, I think it is far more likely to be producing very large damaging hail that have the potential to break out windows in your vehicle and homes, the potential to cause injury if you get hit by flying glass, so definitely stay away from windows. This is one mean-looking hailer. But also the potential is there for damaging winds over 70 miles an hour, and perhaps a tornado. We'll look farther north again. We've got thunderstorms all over the place this evening. Most of these have been hailers with some strong winds. We've got strong winds between Rising Star and Comanche. We also have some maybe quarter-size hail there. Farther north, we've got a cluster of storms capable of producing quarter to golf ball-size hail, pretty much all the way from near Hawley to Albany, up toward Newcastle and Young County, Olney. We've got flash flooding around Archer City. We've got storms in portions of Archer County. And again, these storms all could have some hail, very strong winds, 60 to 70 miles an hour, and very heavy rainfall that could cause flooding. And then we've got this nasty-looking storm just northeast of Frederick, Oklahoma. That's going to be moving up towards Cache, Medicine Park, the Wildlife Preserve there, Mount Scott. So again, that could actually have some pretty big hail. That may be an issue up I-44 towards Oklahoma City in about 2 hours. But again, western North Texas, we're dealing with numerous thunderstorms capable of producing nickel to tennis ball size hail, winds of 50 to 75 miles an hour, and very heavy rainfall. And again, here's a look over the last couple of hours. And again, damaging winds, some hail, heavy rainfall, and we're also seeing a pretty good amount of cloud-to-ground lightning way out east of these storms. For example, we're seeing cloud-to-ground lightning already in Parker County and Hood County, Weatherford down to Granbury, and those storms are still a good distance west of those counties. So heads up for those of you who may be outdoors this evening. We've got lightning strikes occurring, or could be occurring pretty soon in this area here. And again, this is way out ahead of these storms, but we're seeing cloud-to-ground lightning way out ahead. So when we say lightning coming pretty much out of the blue, well, here you go. But again, at this point, we're here because we've got a tornado warning for a pretty nasty hailer moving into the city of Brownwood at this point. This thunderstorm, again, is capable of producing golf ball to tennis ball size hail, the potential for wind gusts over 70 miles an hour, and maybe a tornado. I'll be honest, the atmospheric ingredients this evening are not all that favorable for tornadoes. We have very weak low-level wind shear. We've got what we refer to as high cloud bases, a pretty good spread between the temperature and the dew point temperature. And the bigger that spread, the higher the cloud bases are. And obviously, the higher your cloud bases are, the lower the probability of you actually being able to have tornado genesis occur. Nevertheless, this storm is spinning like a top. It is probably spitting out hail galore right now, and is generally moving off to the east-southeast at about 20 miles an hour. We could have very large damaging hail falling around Lake Brownwood right now. This is going to be moving southeast towards Early and the city of Brownwood, especially the north sides of Brownwood. So those of y'all in Brownwood up to Early, Tracy Norris, hi. You need to get your vehicles into shelter. And there's probably going to be some pretty good winds with these as well, as this thunderstorm moves into the city of Brownwood, moves east-southeast. So definitely make sure the collectible cars are under something. You don't want those getting hail dense. But again, there is a chance this may squeak out a tornado, to be honest with you, and you can probably tell by the tone of my voice. I'm not overly concerned about a tornado issue with this. If we get a tornado, it's probably going to be pretty brief and weak. But this storm is certainly capable of producing damaging straight-line winds over 70 miles an hour, the potential for golf ball to tennis ball size hail. Now, let's take a look at what we're expecting for the remainder of this evening from the high-resolution rapid refresh model. To do that, I just have to press a couple of buttons here. So again, here is what we're expecting over the next few hours. I'll go ahead and put this at 8 o'clock. I just want to see how this model's doing. And you can see it's doing okay. Weather models, even these super high-res weather models, are never going to be perfect. So you have to take them with some skepticism. But here's where storms are expected to be by 10 p.m. You can see we could have thunderstorms moving into the DFW Metroplex, especially western sides of the Metroplex, by 9 to 10 p.m. We could see cloud-to-ground lightning occurring 2 counties ahead of these storms, so places like Sherman, McKinney, Dallas, Waxahachie, Ennis. You could have lightning strikes out of the blue, for the lack of a more appropriate term, by 10 o'clock, even though rain and the storms are still a good 30, 40 miles to your west. Here's 11 o'clock, storms moving east through the Metroplex, and it's not going to be a particularly pleasant time to be out and about driving. Heavy rain, maybe some nickel to quarter size hail. We could have 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts, the potential for very heavy rainfall to cause flooding in the Metroplex, a lot of street flooding possible. Here's midnight, storms just sitting on the Metroplex, and again, if this happens, we're going to have big problems with flooding. A lot of street flooding possible in the Metroplex in a few hours. 1 a.m., it's just still sitting there, and let me tell you, we're going to have flash flooding if this happens. If this is right, we're going to have a lot of flash flooding. We're going to have a lot of flooded roadways. Low water crossings are going to be inundated. And folks are undoubtedly going to be driving into floodwaters, whether it be completely accidental because they didn't see them in the middle of the night, or because they thought they could get through it and end up flooding out and totaling their cars. Here is 3 a.m. You can see we've still got a couple of storms. By this point, the overall severe weather threat's going to be diminishing. But we could still have some small hail, cloud-to-ground lightning, heavy rain, gusty winds. Here's 4 a.m. You can see we've got some sort of a boundary that's stalled out, according to this weather model, from pretty much just Granbury over to Cleburne, Alvarado, up to Waxahachie. And you can see we've still got scattered storms through about 5 a.m. So again, that's the overall timeline. Once these storms this evening get east of I-35, they're going to probably start weakening pretty quick, but they could still be producing quite a bit of heavy rainfall, maybe some quarter-size hail, and we could still see quite a bit of wind. Now, I'm going to look at a different product real quick. This is going to be total precipitation. I just want to see how much this model drops. And what we're looking at here is not going to be something where this upper third is going to change, but I can put some annotations on here. And again, this model, for what it's worth, if it is correct, drops nearly 5 inches of rain between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. across portions of Dallas and Tarrant counties into Johnson County. If we get 5 inches of rain in the span of 2 to 3 hours, we're going to have flooding. So keep that in mind when I say the biggest issue in the Metroplex tonight may be flash flooding and heavy rainfall, cloud-to-ground lightning. We could also see a bit of hail and some very strong winds that could cause some power outages and could cause some tree damage. And we're still seeing very strong winds in Wichita Falls right now, apparently, on the backside of these storms. We're seeing a lot of wind come out of these, apparently. So again, the general plan is storms are going to continue moving east about 20 to 30 miles an hour over the next several hours. They're going to get into the Metroplex. Could still be severe with some hail, damaging winds, but I think the big issue may end up being heavy rainfall that could cause some flash flooding. So keep that in mind tonight. If you're going to be out and about after 10 o'clock, we could see flash flooding that could cause issues on roadways. In terms of tornado threat, it remains very, very low this evening, including this storm near Brownwood. To be honest with you, this storm is not here, we're looking at the which way the wind's blowing mode. Let's just take a look there. You would assume that we have what we call a pretty strong circulation, right? Switch to a different mode. We've got winds moving away from the radar in Abilene at about 60 miles an hour, winds moving towards it at about 30. Yeah, strong rotation, but look how that is out ahead of this precipitation. I'm almost wondering if we're just seeing some clear air here in a mid-level mesocyclone. And trust me, we've got storm chasers down there. If we have a tornado, we're going to know about it pretty darn quick. 1, because storm chasers. 2, because it's in Tracy's house, probably. And 3, we're going to have reports of damage. We have had none of that at this point. And to be frank, I think the biggest issue with this is hail and damaging winds and maybe some flash flooding. Nevertheless, we do have a tornado warning through 8:15, and I can't totally rule out a tornado. So those of you in Brownwood, Zephyr, Early need to be in a safe place, especially put as many, get away from windows. Yeah, that's the key message here, is to be away from windows. We could have some strong winds pushing out ahead of this storm, cloud-to-ground lightning, etc. So again, with all that being said, now that we've gone through what we have going on right now and for the rest of the evening, we encourage you all to stay tuned. We're going to have live streaming storm chasing video from meteorologist Jason Cooley on the Texas Storm Chasers mobile app, on the Texas Storm Chasers website, and on the Texas Storm Chasers YouTube channel. We'll be posting occasional weather updates as well, but we encourage you all to utilize the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. You can use the interactive weather radar under the radar tab, or you can go click the ... more button, and there's a second radar there. For those who've been with us for a while, that is the old radar, the zoom radar. And some seem to like that a bit better, so you have multiple options. You can also get your local weather forecast down to neighborhood level, and again, storm chasing videos, weather coverage, and weather forecasts. We'll be keeping an eye on things here at the Texas Storm Chasers, and we'll be back if needed.